Welcome to the PIO Podcast, a place for everything public information related for police, fire, EMS, and local governments.
It was a good learning experience for a lot of us that social media is not real life.
But we have to remember the media are very rarely a target audience. They're simply that conduit.
Our words have impacts on individuals, and it may not be positive. So just being thoughtful and mindful of the words that we speak.
I think what's so interesting about this position too, and this job and this profession, is that every one of us is looking for purpose, and when we find it here, that's it.
To know is that a crisis for one is not necessarily a crisis for another.
Hey everybody, just wanted to get on here real quick and ask everybody if they enjoyed our content, if they've listened to us, if they want to keep us going, to help support the show. And you can do that by going down to the bottom of the show notes of today's episode and clicking the link and giving us a sponsorship or even just a one-time donation. That'll really help us keep this podcast going and keep us giving you new content. Thanks everybody. Enjoy today's episode. Today on the PIO podcast, we have Keaira Turner, Director of Public Affairs at the Chattanooga Police Department. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert. I really appreciate it.
Keaira, thank you for being on. You recently joined Chattanooga PD as the Director of Public Affairs, and it's a new position with Chattanooga. Are you the first person in that one?
I'm actually not the very first person in this position. Prior to, we did have a gentleman by the name of Kevin West that was the very first person in this position, and unfortunately he did pass away. And just honoring his memory and everything that he has done for Chattanooga Police Department. And then shortly after, a couple of months later, I joined the team.
So you came over from the Birmingham Police Department in Alabama, correctly?
Yes, correct.
So obviously the passing of the prior PIO, that was an opportunity for you. Moving from Alabama over to Chattanooga, was that kind of a culture change for you?
I wouldn't say much of a culture change, especially since I'm Birmingham, so we're 2 hours away. I just really wanted to get into a new role that challenged me in Birmingham Police Department. I'm from Birmingham, was raised in Birmingham, and I am very much of a person who feels like once their calling is done with a certain job, that it's time to move on. So I actually saw this position come up and wanted to, get my feet wet with something outside of the norm. And then also the mission that Chief Murphy for the Chattanooga Police Department has instilled. I really wanted to be able to help her with her comms division. So that's what kind of got me to apply and change my life and move to Chattanooga.
Very cool. Very cool. Before we get too far into the interview, let's talk some numbers here. Staffing at the police department. How many sworn and how many professional staff does Chattanooga PD have?
Yes, so authorized strength, we actually just increased and we'll be going to 500 in the next fiscal year. And for professional staff, we have around 70 to 80.
And what's the population of Chattanooga?
The population is about a little bit over 180,000.
Okay, so you have a really good-sized police department for that population of town. I mean, there's some towns up here I know that they don't have 200 and they're pushing 170,000 officers or 170,000 residents. So that's impressive number.
Yes, I am thankful for that opportunity, especially with just being able to have a full strength of 500 to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to make sure that people in Chattanooga feel as safe as possible.
And how many vacancies do you have in the sworn category?
Currently, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's around 20 to 30.
Okay, that's not bad with increasing your staffing anyways. So that's not a bad number. I know some other departments that are big, that are as big as you guys that are having horrible experiences with staffing. So that's awesome. So let's talk about the public affairs unit. What is your staffing like in that unit?
Yeah, so we are actually a unit of three. So it's myself along with our sworn PIO and a social media coordinator.
Okay, so there's you there's social media coordinator handles all the other stuff uh on the side, and then you have probably a uniform. You said a sworn person that's in uniform.
Yes,
They're on
correct.
camera a lot, I would assume.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So since coming there, what and you said you did what you did in Birmingham and you wanted to come over to Chattanooga, different challenges. What challenges have you found since you've gotten to Chattanooga?
Just me personally, because I'm not from Chattanooga, so just learning as I go because I moved here and started the job at the same time. So trying to learn how this police department and also this city operates, and just trying to find out different content that people enjoy. Knowing that Birmingham does look mostly vastly different from Chattanooga, especially with Birmingham being slightly bigger. How can I take some of those content ideas and be able to repurpose that here in Chattanooga? So I would say those were the biggest challenges stepping up to the plate as Director of Public Affairs.
And I should have brought this up before. Chattanooga is in a very unique location in the country, and it's kind of a window to another part of the country. So for those of you that don't know, could you explain where it's located at?
So I'm not the best with geography, but as you know, Tennessee is basically the gateway to a lot of states, Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky. And basically, the way Tennessee sits, you can get anywhere from here. And then also, the most treasured thing is the Tennessee River that, helps out a lot. So, geography wise, Tennessee and especially Chattanooga is basically your gateway to get to anywhere that you need to go.
Yeah, and it's especially if you're headed towards Atlanta and going into Florida as well. So you get a lot of vehicular traffic that comes through your community, obviously
Yes.
because of that, because it's so easy to get around. So what social media platforms are you guys currently running at Chattanooga PD?
Yeah, so currently our biggest ones are going to be Facebook, Instagram, X, and then also we utilize Nextdoor app a lot, especially with most of our commanders to be able to, connect with citizens on Nextdoor so they'll understand more of what's going on in their area.
Have you thought about adding any others?
Yes, so I have thought about adding TikTok because I know the power of TikTok and how popular it is now, especially with us trying to reach more into youth recidivism and trying to, get more on topic with the youth because a lot of them are on TikTok. So how do we leverage that, especially when we're thinking about recruitment?
Absolutely. I mean, recruitment is such a tough deal. When you post to those social media platforms, and I know I'm asking you more of the social media person in this right now, but are you using the native apps to do it, or are you using third-party apps?
So it really depends on the fly things. We're going to use a native app, but we do have HubSpot. The city of Chattanooga actually gives everybody that's in our comms departments throughout the city access to HubSpot, so we're able to schedule more things. And then also, if there's something on the fly, we do have access to do it on the native apps. But majority of everything is going to be done through HubSpot.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Recruitment, 30 people out of 500 is not bad to be down.
Mhm.
So what are you guys doing different to recruit new officers? Because that's not a bad number.
Yes, so there are a various amount of things that, especially with comms and how we're going to do with recruitment. Really, we want to showcase the human behind the badge. I know a lot of people, think police officers are vastly different, especially with things that's going on in this world. So we really want to do more of people understanding what a life in the life of a police officer is and what that looks like. So a lot of our calls pieces is going to be shifted around a day in the life of officers so you can go behind the scenes of understanding some of the calls, some of the things, and understand that, police officers are human just like we are. Also, we are developing other recruitment strategies of, how do we do pipelines? So basically bringing back our police athletic league and also our explorers program to actually, introduce youth more heavily to police officers without, something going wrong, and being able to have those touch points within their lives so they'll know, hey, maybe this is something I want to do. And then also we do have partnerships with various colleges here that we have internship programs that people can come understand more about what it's like to work in the police department and hopefully help with that pipeline of getting more officers in.
Have you thought about bringing an intern into the public affairs department?
We actually just had an intern from UTC. She actually just graduated, but that is something that we do utilize, and hopefully in the next summer we'll be able to get another intern.
Yeah, I definitely think that the use of interns in comms, especially law enforcement comms, because we have so many different things to do, and sometimes their perspective is fresh and it brings a new idea. So I think that's a great way to keep things moving along freshly. That's excellent. All right, we already talked about TikTok as a potential recruitment tool, so you've seen that. But did you say you were using YouTube at all?
Yes, so we're actually trying to get back on YouTube. For years, I think we have utilized YouTube, but as we know, YouTube is a powerful search engine, and we will want to start shifting some of those, especially with YouTube shorts and things of that nature, and getting more involved more on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and I think especially since the feel is very similar to TikTok, and in the event that TikTok does get banned nationally, I think that that's a good avenue for departments to make as their segue to switch if they've already had a TikTok presence to jump over to YouTube and to run everything off their shorts. Definitely will be beneficial. All right, Keaira. Some legislation recently has impacted police departments by prohibiting them from posting mugshots on social media. What do you guys do down in Chattanooga?
So currently, most of our things, I would say, for our mugshots specifically, is mostly on high-profile cases, and we have started utilizing some of those mugshots. But most of the time, we're not releasing that or the date of birth. We do release the suspect's name, but making sure that they have the correct information, especially to media. So right now, just on high-profile homicide cases and things of that nature.
Okay. And that's probably what most agencies would prefer to do. I know that after sometimes agencies started getting carried away and putting out, their warrant Wednesday or whatever it was, and putting these people out there, and they're not exactly, yes, they're wanted, but they have, the crime may not necessarily be something that warranted their picture being up on a social media site. And then because of the way social media, the laws are for retention, then you can't really take it down either.
Correct.
All right. So regarding critical incidents, such as an officer-involved shooting, what is the policy on dissemination of information and video to the public at the PD?
Let's take a quick break.
When you think about propaganda, you probably think about Kim Jong-un and his funny little haircut. And you'd be exactly right. The podcast, This Is Propaganda, doesn't want you to believe that. They want you to question the ads you see, the news you read, the brands you love. What they don't want you to question is that they are advertisers themselves, peddling the same tricks they claim you fall for to make a living. If you need something to boycott, look no further than this show. Don't listen to This Is Propaganda.
So as far as communication goes, most of the time we're trying to get out as much information as possible. So we do direct a lot of attention to Twitter or X to get out more information. Also, we're always on scene, especially with those critical incidents as the officer involved shooting, and giving real-time updates as soon as possible. As far as releasing of body cam videos and things of that nature, is really on a case-to-case scenario. And, most of the time we have to go through TBI to figure out, what we can't release, especially when they're going through their investigation, because we want to make sure we have the integrity of that investigation to the much of our ability. But as far as comms is going, we're trying to get out as much information as possible. We also correlate with media on Twitter and X to make sure that they know where the media staging areas are, so they'll be able to get those sound bites. And also, we do release videos and things of that nature that's done in-house about some of the incidents that goes on.
And now, a word from our sponsor. In today's climate, you need to be able to communicate, whether you're communicating to those you serve, your peers, or your constituents. Whether you're looking for professional development or to work with a professional, John Guilfoyle Public Relations has you covered. From crisis communications to website development, visit our website at jgpr.net or call us directly at 617-993-0003 to get started today. We'll help you tell your story strategically. Now let's return back to our episode.
So is TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, they are the investigative arm for you guys that handles the investigation in the officer-involved shooting?
Yes, correct.
All right, so do you know if they have a policy about how quickly they have to release video?
Now, I do not know TBI's policy of how quickly they release information, and it's slightly different from, especially me being with Alabama. Most of the time, it really depends on the case, and especially investigations. It could take from a couple of hours or a couple of days, just depending on the case-by-case scenarios.
Okay, and since TBI is the investigative agency, you guys probably are not releasing a critical incident briefing video about the shooting then, I would assume.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Has that always been the case that TBI investigated your officer-involved shootings, to your knowledge?
As long as I've been here, TBI has been a part of that. I'm not exactly sure as far as, how long it's been a part of Tennessee, but my understanding is that they've kind of always had some kind of arm, especially when you're dealing with officer-involved shootings.
Right. Switching gears here, moving away from all that other stuff, what challenges do you see for the public information and public affairs in the next 5 to 10 years? What things do you think we're going to run into?
I would say one of the challenges is probably misinformation. I know, especially as we're going into the dawn of area of artificial intelligence with AI, and what does that look like when we go to try to clear out some of the information. And sometimes, AI can get false information that's being put out on social media or even on the World Web. So how do we differentiate that information and just making sure that people are on the up and up about what's going on? Also, just the dawn of technology changing. And what is that going to look like? Are we still going to have social media around at that time to get out information quick as possible? What's going to be the next platform? So I feel like, especially with law enforcement agencies, and sometimes there is a little bit nudge of not wanting to change as quickly as the world does, but making sure that we're doing the due diligence of research and making sure that we're getting that information as possible. So I think those are most of the challenges that PIOs will have in the next couple of years.
As you speak about law enforcement, not wanting to change, very slow dinosaur pace of change, you think about most police departments still have fax machines. I don't know many businesses that have fax machines anymore. So yeah, but most of them do, which is kind of funny. Even though I know, like, up here in Illinois, they still have to sometimes, if the digital system that they send fingerprints to the Bureau of Identification goes down, they have to fax 1-to-1 fingerprints. So they still need that system to do that, which is kind of funny. All right, Keaira, some other things I'd like to discuss. Training for you. So what kind of training have you had in the area of public information, public affairs?
Yeah, so currently I always done classical training, so I do have a degree in public relations and done government from that point, but I also do training, FEMA training, which is great for public information officers, and then also just learning from other PIOs. So really connecting with other PIOs and other law enforcement agencies and even nonprofit and corporate world of how they disseminate information, and just always willing to be a sponge, and just always looking out to see what kind of training is being offered or updated and things of that nature.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, or is there a question I should have asked, and if so, how would you answer it?
No, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. All right. So then let's change this up. Let's go to some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Texting or talking?
I'm a big talker, to believe it or not. So I love being on the phone. Texting can be challenging sometimes, especially when you're moving from place to place. So you might forget to respond. So I'm all about talking on the phone.
Awesome. Chocolate or vanilla?
Ooh, vanilla.
Coffee or tea?
Of course, I'm a coffee girl.
Adult drink of choice?
Ooh, let's go with a lemon drop.
Oh, nice. What would be your superpower if you could have one?
Ooh, if I could have a superpower, let's say mind reading. Because I feel like as a communicator, I want to know what people think. So that'd be a great superpower to have, so I can know.
It would be to answer those questions off the like that. Yeah, that would be great. Ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
I'm really a beg for forgiveness type of person. Sometimes, you have to take charge and just say, hey, I decided to make this decision. And most of the time, people will forgive you. And I'm more of I got to get it done or get in front of something. So I'd rather ask forgiveness later.
It is the public information officer's way. I think in 99% of the interviews I've done in the last 4 years, everybody has said beg for forgiveness. Place you would most like to travel to?
I would love to travel to Greece.
It's interesting. This has been a trend. I think the last 6 or 7 people I've interviewed have all said Greece. That's kind of funny.
I don't know. It's been, all the pictures I've seen about Greece has just been just lovely, and just to be out there and the skies are blue. I just really wanted to go visit.
The food, the water, the history, everything about it, the nightlife, it's all there.
Yes.
First celebrity crush?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. Denzel Washington, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I like Denzel. He's cool. Guilty pleasure food?
Chinese food. I'm a big Chinese takeout type of person, so.
Okay. Awesome. If you could have coffee with any person, historical figure, living or dead, who would it be?
I would love to sit down and talk to former President Barack Obama, just to figure out, his words of wisdom, especially being as big as the president and pressures that he had to go through, and just to get advice from that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What key points would you like our listeners to take away from our interview today?
So I would say the key points that I would love for people to take away is always train. Always try to find some kind of book, because I feel like when you're reading, you're always learning. So that can help out with communication when you're writing and things of that nature. And to remind themselves that the sky's the limit. No matter what they do, anything you can put your mind to do it, you can do it.
Awesome. Keaira, how can people best reach out to you if they want to connect or follow up on anything we've talked about today?
Yeah, so you can always find me on LinkedIn at Keaira Turner. Also, you can always email me at kturner2@chattanooga.gov.
And I will add that all into the show notes.
Cool.
Keaira, thank you very much for being on the show.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure having you. That's all for this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get notified on the latest episode. If you are listening on a platform that allows you to leave a review, please give us a review. Any review is appreciated. To support our efforts with the PIO podcast, you can click on the support button in the show notes, and any donation is appreciated. Thank you.